I woke up from the overdose after learning about my $150 million inheritance. When my stepfather saw me at the funeral home, he fainted because I was supposed to be in the casket and he'd already emptied my bank accounts. Hello lovelies. If you haven't yet, subscribe and say hi in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Now let's get back into the story. The fluorescent lights burned my eyes as consciousness clawed its way back. My throat felt like I'd swallowed broken glass, and the steady beep of monitors filled my ears. I tried to move, but my body refused to cooperate. Where was I? She's waking up, a woman's voice said, sharp with surprise. A nurse's face appeared above me, her dark skin creased with concern. Honey, can you hear me? You're at County Medical. You overdosed 3 days ago. Overdosed? The word hit me like ice water. No, I croaked. I don't use drugs. She squeezed my hand gently. Your stepfather brought you in. Said he found you unresponsive with empty pill bottles beside you. Leonard. My stepfather's name sent a chill through my veins despite the warm hospital room. Something was wrong. I remembered our last conversation clearly, him insisting I sign some papers for Mama's estate. I'd refused. And then I'd made myself tea. My phone, I whispered. I need my phone. The nurse hesitated. Your family took your belongings. They said they'd handle everything while you recovered. Panic exploded in my chest. What day is it? How long have I been here? It's Friday, sweetheart. You were admitted Tuesday night. 3 days. I'd lost 3 days. The machines around me started beeping faster as my heart rate spiked. The nurse called for the doctor, but all I could think about was Leonard's face when I'd refused to sign those papers. The way his smile had turned cold. Your mama would want this, he'd said. But Mama was dead. And suddenly I realized I was supposed to be too. Dr. Patel, a woman with kind eyes and graying temples, pulled up a chair beside my bed. She held a manila folder and her expression was troubled. Miss Jordan, I need to discuss something with you privately, she said, glancing at the door. The toxicology report came back and there are some concerning findings. My stomach knotted. What kind of findings? You had high levels of benzodiazepines and opioids in your system, but the combination and timing don't match a typical overdose scenario. There were also traces of other substances that suggest. She paused, choosing her words carefully. This appears more consistent with gradual poisoning than a single overdose event. The room tilted. Poisoning. I can't make accusations, but as a mandatory reporter, I've already contacted the police. There's something else. She opened the folder. Your medical history shows no prior prescriptions for these medications. No history of substance abuse. And there were fresh injection sites on your arm that you couldn't have administered yourself given their location. I stared at the bruises on my inner arm. Someone had stuck needles in me while I was unconscious. That damn tea Leonard had made me. My stepfather tried to kill me, I said, the words feeling surreal even as they left my mouth. Dr. Patel didn't look surprised. That's for the police to determine. But I want you to know you're safe here. I've put a note in your chart that only medical staff can access your room. Has anyone tried to visit? Her jaw tightened. Your stepfather came by yesterday. Said he was here to make arrangements. Security turned him away when I flagged your chart. Make arrangements. For my funeral. The bastard had already started planning it. Detective Morris, a tall black woman with sharp eyes, took my statement Saturday morning. She listened without interruption, taking notes as I recounted everything. Leonard's insistence on the papers, the tea, waking up here. Do you know what those papers were for? She asked. Something about Mama's estate. She died 6 months ago. Cancer. My voice cracked on the last word. Mama had been my whole world after Daddy died when I was 12. Then she'd married Leonard 5 years ago and everything changed. And your relationship with your stepfather? Complicated. He was charming at first. Mama was lonely. But after they married, he started controlling everything. Her money, her decisions. When she got sick, he convinced her to put him on all her accounts, to help manage things. I didn't realize until after she died that he'd basically taken over everything. Detective Morris's pen moved faster. Everything. Her house, her savings, her car. All in joint ownership with right of survivorship. When she passed, it all went straight to him. I didn't inherit anything. But you mentioned papers? I nodded. That's what's weird. He kept saying there was one more thing Mama wanted me to have, but I needed to sign first. Something felt wrong, so I refused. My phone buzzed on the bedside table. The police had retrieved it from my apartment along with other evidence. I glanced at the screen and froze. 17 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. And one voicemail from someone named Theodore Blackwell, attorney at law, marked urgent. Detective, I said slowly, I think I need to hear this voicemail. Theodore Blackwell's voice was distinguished, careful, with the weight of significant news. I put him on speaker so Detective Morris could hear. Miss Jordan, this is Theodore Blackwell of Blackwell & Associates. I've been trying to reach you regarding your biological father's estate. It's imperative we speak immediately. Your father, James Wellington, passed away 4 months ago, and you are the sole beneficiary of his will. The estate is valued at approximately $150 million. Please contact my office at your earliest convenience. The room went silent except for the heart monitor's accelerated beeping. Detective Morris and I stared at each other. $150 million, I whispered. By father, James Wellington. Mama had never talked about my biological father. She'd only said he was gone, and that I looked just like him. I'd assumed he was dead or had abandoned us. All I knew was his first name, James. Detective Morris stood abruptly. Miss Jordan, I need you to not contact anyone about this information yet. If your stepfather tried to kill you before he knew about this inheritance. He knew, I said, pieces falling into place. That's what the papers were about. He must have found out somehow. Maybe the lawyer contacted Mama's house and he intercepted it. My hands shook as I called the voicemail again, listening for details I'd missed. James Wellington. The name stirred something in my memory. Mama's old jewelry box had a picture hidden in the bottom. A handsome man with my same eyes, my same smile. I need to call him back, I said. Not yet. First, we document everything. If Leonard thinks you're dead or dying, we have an advantage. An advantage. Against my stepfather who'd poisoned me, who'd emptied my accounts, who was probably planning my funeral. Mr. Blackwell arrived at the hospital Monday afternoon, a distinguished older gentleman with silver hair and an expensive suit. He brought documents, photographs, and stories about a father I'd never known. James Wellington was a real estate developer and venture capitalist, he explained, spreading papers across my hospital bed. He met your mother when they were both 19. They had a brief relationship, but circumstances separated them before he knew about you. Circumstances? I asked, studying a photo of my father. He had my nose, my high cheekbones. His family was wealthy, traditional, and disapproved of the relationship due to racial prejudices. When your mother became pregnant, his parents paid her a sum of money to disappear and never contact him. Mr. Blackwell's expression was pained. James didn't learn the full truth until 15 years ago. He hired investigators, found you and your mother, but she refused all contact. She'd built a life, moved on, and didn't want him disrupting things. Tears burned my eyes. She never told me. She thought she was protecting you from rejection. But James never stopped having you investigated, ensuring you were safe. Well, when he was diagnosed with terminal cancer last year, he updated his will. Everything goes to you. Property holdings, investment portfolios, cash assets, the family estate. And Leonard found out somehow? Mr. Blackwell's face darkened. We sent notification to your mother's last known address 6 weeks ago. The letter outlined that you needed to contact us regarding a substantial inheritance. 6 weeks ago. Right when Leonard started acting strange, insisting I visit, making those special teas. Detective Morris had been listening quietly. Mr. Blackwell, we need your help with something. Can you check if anyone has tried to claim this inheritance or filed death certificates? Mr. Blackwell made calls while Detective Morris worked her own sources. Within hours, we had our answer, and it was worse than I'd imagined. Leonard had filed a death certificate in my name 3 days ago, the day after I was admitted to the hospital. He'd listed cause of death as accidental overdose, and had used a corrupt funeral director to expedite cremation papers. The funeral was scheduled for today at 4 p.m. He's trying to cremate the body before anyone can confirm identity, Detective Morris said. Once you're legally dead with no body to prove otherwise, he can claim your inheritance as your stepfather and next of kin. Can he do that? I asked, feeling sick. Mr. Blackwell shook his head. Not with James Wellington's estate. The will is ironclad and we'd require significant proof of death and proper verification. But your stepfather doesn't know that. He likely thinks he can present the death certificate and claim everything. What do we do? My voice was stronger now, anger replacing fear. Detective Morris smiled grimly. We go to your funeral. 2 hours later, I was dressed in street clothes, still weak but determined. We'd coordinated with the funeral home, the real director, not Leonard's accomplice, who'd agreed to help. I wore sunglasses and a headscarf, looking nothing like the professional photos Leonard would have provided. The funeral home was modest on the east side of town. As we pulled up in Detective Morris's unmarked car, I saw them. Leonard, my half-sister Brittany, and Leonard's brother Derek. They stood near the entrance, checking their phones, looking impatient rather than grieving. That's them, I whispered. Ready? Detective Morris asked. I nodded, my heart hammering. Let's go see who's in my casket. We entered through the side door exactly as planned. The funeral director, Mr. Coleman, met us in the hallway. His face was pale with anger. The body in the casket isn't your stepdaughter, he told Detective Morris. It's a Jane Doe from the county morgue. He bribed my assistant to make the switch, claimed he needed a closed casket for religious reasons. I only discovered this an hour ago when I came in early. My stomach turned. Leonard had used an unidentified dead woman as my stand-in. Some poor soul with no family to claim her was about to be cremated under my name. Is he here? I asked. In the viewing room. There are maybe 15 people. Mostly his family and a few neighbors who knew your mother. No one who knew you well, interestingly enough. Because Leonard had made sure I was isolated these past months, calling my friends to say I needed space, blocking numbers on my phone without my knowledge. Detective Morris had uncovered all of it during her investigation. We positioned ourselves where we could see into the viewing room. Leonard stood beside the casket in an expensive black suit, playing the devastated stepfather. Brittany dabbed at dry eyes with tissue. Derek was on his phone, probably calculating his cut of the money. He looks pretty comfortable for someone at his stepdaughter's funeral, Detective Morris observed. That's because he thinks he won, I said. Then before anyone could stop me, I walked into the viewing room. The effect was instantaneous. An elderly woman gasped. Brittany's fake tears stopped mid-sob. And Leonard went sheet white, stumbled backward and collapsed into the folding chairs. Sorry I'm late, I said clearly. Traffic was murder. Leonard recovered consciousness within seconds, but the damage was done. Everyone in that room had seen his reaction. Not relief that I was alive, not joy, but pure terror. Simone, he stammered, using my name like a question, like I was a ghost he couldn't believe in. But you, the hospital said. Said what, Leonard? I stepped closer. What exactly did the hospital tell you about me? Detective Morris entered behind me, badge visible. Actually, Mr. Harrison, why don't you tell us? Tell everyone here what you thought happened to your stepdaughter. Brittany found her voice first. Daddy, what's going on? You said she died. You said, she stopped abruptly, realizing what she'd admitted. Died of what? I asked my half-sister, this girl who'd treated me like garbage since her father married my mother. I'd love to hear what story he told you. The other mourners were murmuring now, confused and suspicious. Leonard's face shifted through emotions. Fear, calculation, then sudden angry desperation. You signed the papers, he said, pointing at me. You gave me power of attorney before you took those pills. This is all legal. I never signed anything. And I never took any pills. But you know that, don't you? Because you gave them to me. Mr. Blackwell entered with two uniformed officers. Mr. Harrison, I'm Theodore Blackwell, executor of James Wellington's estate. I believe you've been trying to claim an inheritance that isn't yours. Leonard lunged for the door. Derek tried to help him, but the officers were faster. They had Leonard in handcuffs within seconds, reading him his rights while he shouted about persecution and lies. Brittany started crying, real tears this time. Daddy wouldn't, he couldn't. He emptied my bank accounts, I said, my voice steady despite the emotion choking me. Every penny Mama left me. Everything I'd saved. Gone. The police station interrogation room was cold and smelled like industrial cleaner and stale coffee. Through the one-way glass, I watched Leonard sit across from Detective Morris and her partner, Detective Rodriguez. His lawyer, a nervous public defender, kept shuffling papers. We found the burner phone, Detective Morris said, sliding a plastic evidence bag across the table. The one you used to communicate with your accomplice at the funeral home. The texts are very clear, Mr. Harrison. Make sure the cremation happens fast. Once she's ash, there's no proof of anything. Leonard's jaw clenched. That could be anyone's phone. It was in your car. The one parked at the funeral home. We also found these. She placed another bag on the table. Pill bottles. Prescribed to various names, all filled at different pharmacies. None prescribed to Simone Jordan. But guess whose fingerprints are all over them? Yours. I watched my stepfather's facade crack. His lawyer leaned in, whispering urgently. Leonard shook his head stubbornly. Detective Rodriguez spoke up. We also retrieved your computer. The search history is enlightening. How long does it take to die from benzodiazepine overdose? Can poisoning be detected after cremation? Claiming inheritance as step-parent. You weren't very careful, were you? We have your bank records too, Detective Morris continued. $50,000 transferred to your account from Simone's savings 3 days after she was hospitalized. Another $75,000 the day after that. You were in a hurry, weren't you? Had to empty everything before she woke up. Before anyone could stop you. I felt sick. $125,000. Every penny I'd saved from my job as a graphic designer, every cent Mama had given me over the years, birthday money from my grandparents before they died. Gone. Leonard finally spoke. She was supposed to get nothing. That money should have gone to me and Brittany. Why? I asked, stepping into the interrogation room against Detective Morris's advice. I needed to hear it from him. Why would you kill me? Leonard looked up, and for the first time I saw him without the mask. The real him, the man who'd hidden behind charm and fake concern. His eyes were cold, calculating, empty of anything resembling love. Your mother was dying, he said simply. Cancer was eating her alive. I married her for her money, and then I found out she'd spent most of it on treatments, on trying to stay alive for you. Do you know how frustrating that was? Watching my investment disappear into hospital bills. The casual cruelty took my breath away. Behind the glass, Mr. Blackwell put a steadying hand on my shoulder. We were recording everything. She loved you, I whispered. She was a means to an end. But then that letter came. $150 million. Your real father's money. I'd dealt with you for 5 years, played the concerned stepfather, and suddenly you were worth more than anything I could have imagined. So you decided to kill me. I decided to solve a problem. You'd inherit the money, I'd make you sign it over, and then you'd have a tragic accident. No one would question a girl overcome with grief about her mother turning to pills. It happens all the time. Detective Rodriguez leaned forward. But she didn't sign, did she? Leonard's lip curled. Stupid girl got suspicious. So I adjusted the plan. Drug her anyway, make it look like suicide, become her next of kin as her stepfather. The inheritance would be contested, sure, but with a good lawyer and some patience I could get at least a portion of it. And the real body in the casket? Detective Morris asked. The Jane Doe you were about to cremate under Simone's name? Necessary substitution. Dead is dead. The arrest made news. Local stations picked it up first. Stepfather arrested for attempted murder, insurance fraud. Then regional outlets. By the end of the week it was everywhere. The story too sensational to ignore. I returned to my apartment with police escort. The place had been tossed. Leonard had searched it looking for anything about the inheritance. My laptop was gone, photo albums ripped apart, even Mama's jewelry box had been destroyed. The hidden picture of my biological father was torn in half. But he'd missed something. Mama's old recipe box, the wooden one with the broken clasp, sat undisturbed on the kitchen shelf. Inside, tucked between cards for peach cobbler and collard greens, I found an envelope with my name on it. Mama's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Asterisk, my dearest Simone. If you're reading this, I'm gone and you found out about your father. I'm sorry for keeping him from you. I was young, scared, and too proud to forgive. James Wellington tried to find us, tried to make amends, but I was so hurt by his family's rejection that I pushed him away. I know now that was wrong. You deserved to know your father. By the time I realized my mistake, I was sick and Leonard was not who I thought he was, baby. Asterisk. I saw things near the end. The way he looked at my bank statements. How he changed after that lawyer's letter came about your inheritance. I tried to change things, tried to protect you, but I was so weak and he controlled everything. I've hidden something for you. In the storage unit, number 247, key taped behind my Bible in the nightstand. Documents. Recordings. Proof of what he is. Be careful, baby. And know that every day of your life has been my greatest joy. I love you forever. Mama. The storage unit was in a facility across town. Detective Morris accompanied me along with Mr. Blackwell. The key fit perfectly, and when we rolled up the metal door we found boxes. Dozens of them, carefully labeled in Mama's handwriting. The first box contained financial records, proof that Leonard had been systematically stealing from Mama's accounts for years. Credit cards opened in her name, loans taken out against the house, investment accounts liquidated. He'd hidden it all from her while she was sick, forging her signature. The second box made me cry. Letters. Dozens of letters from James Wellington to my mother, spanning 15 years. Letters she'd never opened, never read. In them, my father apologized, explained, pleaded for a chance to know me. He'd sent photos of himself, hoping Mama would share them. He'd sent checks for child support that were never cashed. He'd sent love, and Mama had been too hurt to accept it. But the third box was dynamite. A recording device, the kind used for medical appointments, with Mama's voice clearly labeling it, evidence against Leonard Harrison. We listened in the storage unit, sitting on the concrete floor. Mama's weak voice filled the space. Leonard, I know what you're doing. I found the bank statements you tried to hide. You've stolen nearly $300,000 from me. Leonard's voice cold. You're dying anyway. What do you need it for? It was for Simone. Her inheritance. Her future. Simone won't need it. I've got bigger plans for her. What does that mean? It means that inheritance letter from her real daddy is very interesting. Very valuable. You stay away from my daughter. Or what? You'll be dead in a month. And then it's just me and her. And accidents happen every day. The recording continued. More threats, more admissions, Leonard talking about how easy it would be to make me disappear. The trial took 8 months. Leonard was charged with attempted murder, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, and a dozen other crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, the financial records, witness testimony from Dr. Patel, the funeral home staff, even Brittany eventually testified against him to save herself from accessory charges. Derek took a plea deal, admitting he'd helped Leonard plan everything in exchange for a cut. Brittany sobbed through her testimony, claiming she hadn't known about the murder attempt, only the financial fraud. The jury didn't believe her completely, but she got probation and community service. Leonard got 25 years in prison. No possibility of parole for 15. I stood in the courtroom when the verdict was read, flanked by Detective Morris and Mr. Blackwell. Leonard stared at me as they led him away in chains, his face twisted with hatred and disbelief that I'd won. But I hadn't won. Not really. The inheritance was legally mine, $150 million, just as Mr. Blackwell had said. Properties across 3 states, investment portfolios, the family estate where my father had lived. I was wealthy beyond imagination. But Mama was gone. My biological father was gone. I'd never get to meet him, never hear his voice except in letters, never tell him I understood why Mama had been afraid. I'd lost years I could never recover. I donated the first $1 million to organizations helping domestic violence and poisoning victims. I set up a foundation in Mama's name for cancer research. I bought back her house from Leonard's creditors and turned it into a community center. But at night, in the too big estate house that my father had left me, I held Mama's letters and cried for everything that was stolen. Not the money but the time, the trust, the family I'd thought I had. Leonard took more than my bank accounts. He took my ability to believe in people, my sense of safety, my last days with Mama when I should have been cherishing her instead of trying to keep her husband from killing me. Some betrayals leave scars that money can never heal. I learned that family isn't blood. It's who stays when things get hard. It's Detective Morris checking on me monthly. It's Mr. Blackwell becoming the grandfather figure I never had. It's the survivors I meet through my foundation, all of us stitching ourselves back together. The inheritance gave me security, but survival gave me strength. And that, I learned, is worth more than $150 million could ever be. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share your own experiences in the comments. You never know who might need to hear that they're not alone. And remember, trust your instincts. Something feels wrong, it probably is. Your life might depend on listening to that inner voice. Stay safe, stay strong, and never let anyone make you feel like you're worth less than everything.